Are you wondering what is the difference between the Nintendo Switch 2 and the original Nintendo Switch 1, and if it's actually worth overpaying for the Switch 2? So first, when it comes to the price, obviously there is quite a massive difference between these. For example, in Europe over here for the Switch 2 I had to pay 550 euros, while in the used market I can probably pick up original Switch, so which came out basically like 7 years ago, essentially for maybe around 150 essentially. So again, there's like absolutely massive price difference. So if you compare the Switch 2 versus one of the OLED models, again, still I think there's like 2 times price difference. So what we actually get better basically on the Switch 2. So I also had the Switch 1 basically in past. So first, when it comes to display, we get roughly 60% larger display on this bad boy essentially. So we get 7.9-inch display on this console essentially, and also it's slightly brighter at 450 nits. So on the old one, I think it was 350 or 300, something like that essentially. By the way, also on the old, we actually had a model with OLED display as well, but also the original Switch came with like a regular LCD display essentially. So the OLED definitely, I think it's maybe even like better, has colors than this Switch 2, what has basically. But if you compare the original Nintendo Switch 1, the first one that actually came versus this one, then definitely the screen quality is much better on this one, even though the technology is actually very similar. Also, the viewing angles also are much better on the Switch 2 compared to the Switch 1. So, and basically here are the specs for the display on the Switch 2. Also, obviously we get 120 Hz display on this one, with also HDR on the Switch 1. We didn't really had none of this stuff basically. So then, and probably the next biggest difference actually is in the JoyCons on this console essentially. So if we remove the JoyCons, you can see that they physically are actually much larger, essentially much more chunkier basically than the original ones. And when it comes to comfort and basically how these perform, I would say these perform like night and day difference really. So these are so insanely nice controllers over here. So you can see what they actually look like. Also, another cool thing is we can actually use our controllers as a mouse as well, which is absolutely awesome. So let me grab this. So basically inside your box essentially you have this like adapter over here that you put it like this essentially, and then you can essentially use basically this as a mouse as well, which is absolutely awesome. Maybe some shooter games. So you see literally I have a mouse working again from the controller. Again, we can do the same on the other controller as well, which is absolutely insane. So obviously if you play some shooter games, or again simply want to maybe browse some internet on this one, yeah, absolutely amazing feature. And yeah, overall the controller quality definitely is absolutely amazing, I would say. By the way, on this Switch 2 also, so if I grab this, you see also have this adapter now, so that I can use to convert it basically in a handheld controller basically. So this is essentially what it looks like. So you can easily connect the Switch to like a big screen, essentially TV or monitor, and like control it remotely. Of course, we could do similar thing on the Switch one, but basically with the addition of this one, so really you do not even need to purchase like additional controllers essentially. So this pretty much converts it to that. So again, absolutely awesome what they have actually made here. And also when it comes to the build quality definitely also is more substantial on this one, and it's like it feels like more premium unit as well. So definitely more chunkier, more durable. Also we have better speakers as well on this unit. So again, they're actually like significantly better actually, and also significantly better like a microphone as well on this unit compared to the previous one essentially. So you see you have the vents for the fans basically, but again, you even if you play it on like hardcore level, it stays completely silent essentially. You do not have to worry about the stuff essentially. Also the way these attach also is much better. So again, they just feel so incredibly nice and so easy to attach. So these are absolute joy to use, all the controllers. I think for the controllers alone it's totally worth actually upgrading. And also when it comes to performance, really fast, if you actually browse the Switch, obviously it feels like mega fast essentially. Okay, So, and also, by the way, we also obviously get a bunch new games essentially. So my internet probably isn't the fastest, but yeah, basically you obviously get new games with the Switch 2 essentially. By the way, if you're wondering if the Switch 1 games actually work with these consoles, then yep, they still work, but obviously, yeah, so new is new. Again, another difference which is probably not good about the Switch 2 is that the game price have like increased significantly. So you see for the Mario Kart literally like 80 euros or dollars, which is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. Also for the Cyberpunk, well, like 70. So this is absolutely insane. So why they're so charging so much? That's absolutely insane. So definitely you can definitely find like cheaper games on the basically Switch. So but again, you can simply yeah, download the older games on this one. So again, you aren't limited to that one. So then when it comes to the performance, also the performance obviously is like way improved on this device compared to the old guy essentially. So when it comes to performance, I have all the specs over here. So we actually get total custom NVIDIA Tegra CPU essentially. And when it comes to the overall performance, basically when you check the raw horsepower of this unit, it essentially matches maybe PS4 essentially. So yep, like full like proper gaming console. Power essentially in this handheld variant. So again, it's that powerful. Again, we also have 12 gigs of RAM and DDR5, so again, it's mega fast essentially, and also the base storage is significantly increased. So you see 256 gigabytes. So how much did we had on the past? Sorry, I don't remember exactly. Maybe like 64 or something like that essentially. So again, storage definitely also has been significantly boosted on this unit. And obviously when it comes to gaming as well, so obviously we get really decent performance here. And yeah, when it comes to playback, so really there is like night and day difference pretty much between this unit. So again, it's way more powerful essentially. And again, it will essentially rip through everything and you can play pretty much everything on the highest graphics essentially on this. And again, the joysticks, again, when you play, again, they're actually total pleasure to use. And when it comes to the battery life, however, I would say, however, these units are pretty much equal. So, Nintendo claims that we can get up like 6 hours on this unit essentially. But from my test, really, if you actually play some like normal games, I think you can get only around 3 hours. Maybe again, if you like increase your brightness even. So around only a bit over 2 hours. So again, obviously if you play the highest end games, this has got insane power. Obviously it will also consume quite a lot of battery if you do that. Also, I think on the Switch we only had one port where to charge it, so I do not remember exactly. But again, you actually have like decent charging on this as well, so you can easily use it with a power bank easily, and then you do not really have to worry about the battery life as much. And finally, also obviously we get a slightly different dock here as well on this new one, so I can see what it actually looks like. So this is a backplate. So essentially we have all the ports and USB over here. So but function wise what it does, yeah, probably similar actually. So yeah, and so is the Switch actually number 2 actually worth it over the original one? Well, obviously, yep, it's pretty much upgraded in every single way. So way better display, way better controllers, way better build quality, way better like power essentially. So when you look at all things together, really, so this is actually like huge leap forward basically. In pretty much everything really, but is it actually worth it basically at the current stage? So again, I had to pay like 550 euros for this thing, which is a bit over $600. I actually do not think it's as worth like 3 times as much as the original Switch. So again, in used markets especially, you can get like the original Switch for like very cheap money essentially, so you probably have to think twice about that. But again, once this drop in price and you can get for like decent price, then definitely this is well worth it. So absolutely great console here. Anyway, good luck.